Good morning on the Ron G Morning Show. Our guest this morning is Coach Carmen. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. You're in for a treat this morning. I met this young lady last week and I was so impressed that I called her. I said, "Can I get you back on? Because your story, I was telling people about your story, and I said, we're gonna go over that because you was telling me, well, what about this question? I said, I got this. Don't worry about it. We got this. Coach Carmen is right here with us, and you are out of New York, right?
Staten Island, New York.
Staten Island. Oh, I know somebody came from Staten Island. He's in the White House right now.
Really?
Yeah, is that it? It didn't our president say he always go to Staten Island or from Staten island, somewhere in that area.
I never heard that. That's interesting. Wow.
Well, now that you're here, and let me
Yes, sir.
a couple more things for it. You know, the story that you told earlier with Martha being on here, you had a blood disorder, and you were saying what it done to you and how you actually regrouped and you went to a non-traditional way of healing yourself. Is that the right way of saying that, non-traditional?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you told me, I was at awe. I don't know if you could see how I was looking because I was just looking at you. I said, "You serious?" She had all that going on, but look at you right now. Nobody would even know you had that going on.
Amen. Yes. I wasn't recognizable, and I have actually a testimony on my website, actually on my detox web page. And it's a person I think most of your listeners would know. And she tells the story of how she saw me when I was getting sick. And and she says that she didn't think I was going to make it when she saw me. And when she saw me, I wasn't even at the like the worst part of the metamorphosis that was going on in my body inwardly and outwardly. I call it my cocoon experience because I truly felt like I was in a cocoon. Yes.
You know, for those unfamiliar with the holistic wellness on how you do things, can you describe unique approach of sharing the bliss and what did you believe in that took part from, okay, put it this way, what is the difference between your wellness from other platforms?
Yes. Right. Well, we have options. I had options. So just so that we can lay a little more of a foundation, so your listeners will understand exactly, what transpired. But basically, I had a Bath and Body Shop day spa, and I was doing my thing, and I just started to feel sicker and sicker. I was born with eczema, so when I ended up with this blood illness, which I believe had a lot to do with living in black mold infested environments most all of my adult life. So when I got ill, I I knew that I could turn it around. Like I just believe that whatever is going on with your body, God has given us the tools to heal. So he's given us his word, which is the first place I believe you should start. Start in prayer, asking God, well, what is this? What's going on? What do I need to know? What can I do? As they say, instead of going, my phone is singing hallelujah. Hallelujah.
All right.
I guess it's giving me a thumbs up, but that's so funny. So they say instead of going to the phone, go to the throne, right? You go to the throne before you go to the phone. So and that's what I really did. When I started feeling sicker and sicker and weaker, and the eczema that I had in my body was just pretty much taking over. And it was just so horrific. I had to close my business to heal. I surrendered. So I believe with traditional medicine and traditional ways of healing, going the medical route, you go to the doctor and they tell you what they think. They do all these different tests, which is what they would have done. And they take your blood, but truly they don't even take your blood in a way that's going to identify truly what's going on. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute, how I had my blood taken by a holistic practitioner and how they were able to see so much more than a traditional doctor would have seen. So what I did was I said, okay, well, I know they're going to look at all these things and not really know what's going on, because I just felt instinctively that it wasn't something that they would have been able to identify quickly. So I just asked God to help me to get clarity, and I was invited to a detox. It was a doctor from California, was on Staten Island. He was in Staten Island and he was doing a detox, and one of my massage therapists suggested that I went, and he was talking about how important organic food is, and how when you don't have organic food, there's a lot of issues that can happen to your body, and which most people, a lot of disease, they don't even realize it's the pesticides, herbicides, GMOs, and all that. And at the time, I wasn't 100% sure that it was mold until one day my sister came to my house and she said, I smell mold. I think it's mold that's making you sick. And then I did my own research. So instead of having the doctors do all the research, whatever they're going to do, I decided to go online and learn about black mold and do my own research. And I understood. And the deeper I went, the more I understood that eczema, if you have eczema, or if you were born with it, or if you have psoriasis or any type of skin disease like that, it's usually connected to some type of mold, some type of yeast, candida. You have too much of that in your body. So that's why I knew I needed to detox. So instead of getting on the medication, I went to one doctor, because so many people in my inner circle who did see me, because I had to go home, like I said, to heal. So I had a few people come to visit me. And when they did, they were so horrified. They were like, oh, please go to the doctor. Go to one doctor. And I found one doctor who actually was so cool. He gave me a drip that actually helped to just calm my body down, because my body was so inflamed and just so toxic that everything, my nerves, everything was just like on edge. So that helped to relieve some of the stress, the inner stress, without medication. And he was very open. He says, I see what you're going through, and if you want me to prescribe something, I'm not sure what to, but we'll do the usual. Right now, I think you need this, that, and the other thing. He wasn't even sure, but he was going to prescribe some medication for me. So I said, no, thanks. So basically the difference is, number one, you have to trust God. You have to go to God, trust God. You have to hear from God for yourself, because he may tell you to go to the doctor. He may tell you to take the medication. It depends on your situation and why he wants you to take the medication.
Yes.
More than likely, he's not asking you to take the medication, suggesting that you take the medication because he can't heal you. He's suggesting that you take the medication most of the time because you don't have enough faith to totally trust him. Or maybe there's just something else, because I'm not going to put God in a box. There's so many reasons why he does what he does. So it could be also that he just wants you to go through a certain, just go through a transformation that's going to take you from this place to another place, where later on in life, you're going to realize, oh, wow, I'm glad that God gave me that route to take, because he was doing something. He knew what he was going to be doing later on, so that's why you truly have to hear from God for yourself. But at the same time, regardless to what, you have work to do. You have to do your research and find out what's going on with yourself. You have to find out if they do give you medication, and you have to decide. Once you decided whether you're going to take the medication or not, if you decide you're going to take it, then I personally say do your research before you have the doctor write that prescription. Because once the doctor writes a prescription, it's almost like you're signing your name on that path towards whatever path they have for you. Like you are just signing up for it. And now you can't just say in the middle of that, I want to go in a different direction. Once you're on that medication, I know you can relate to that some of it is systemic. Once it's in your body, you can't just take yourself off, which you should never just take yourself off medication without your doctor weaning you off, helping you to get off that medication. So once you go that route, you have to be willing to go all in. Also, if you decide that you don't want to take the medication, and even if you didn't start, depending on the situation, they can rat on you. Actually, the doctors can be annoyed that you didn't take the medication, and oftentimes they'll call up your insurance company and tell them, that she or he's not taking the medication that I prescribed, and that can be a problem too, believe it or not. So you have to, whatever you decide, choose what you're going to do. I chose to go the holistic route, so I had to go all in. I couldn't play around. I couldn't have one foot in, one foot out. Once I chose the holistic route, I could not be eating donuts on the side. That would have killed me. I had to go all the way in, and I had to be willing to put on the whole armor and fight the good fight, because it is a challenge. When they give you medication, they could have given me medication to start to make my skin heal better, quicker, much, much quicker, like within a week or two. But the toxicity would still have been in my body. You know what I mean? It still would have been in there. So I would have been masking the situation, which I did all my life with different medications that dermatologists would give me.
Exactly. Which brings, you hit something about transformation.
Yes.
Many people struggle with maintaining lifestyle changes. So what were some of the common challenges that you faced doing your transformation to your new lifestyle?
Yes. Well, before I got to that new lifestyle, I had to let go of the old lifestyle. And letting go of the old lifestyle for me, even though it was hard, because it was such a life or death situation, I really had no choice. Like, it was like I just had to do it. I'll be honest with you. I try to do that now. To be like at 100 the way I was back then, it's a lot harder now, because I don't have as much to lose as I had before, right? So it depends on how much you have to lose. Well, for some people, it doesn't matter. They'll lose a foot, they'll lose a toe, they'll lose a foot before they change. And even after that, they still won't change.
Mm-hmm.
We have people in our community who have family members. I have a sister who was in the last detox who she ended up losing. She came a little too late. So by the time she was ready to change, her diabetes had gotten to the point where she ended up losing a toe. But they had said they were considering taking her whole foot at first, So, but her foot was already turning dark when she decided to do the detox. So how far do you need to go before you make that decision to go all in? So for me, in terms of changing and making this my lifestyle, this is what I love to explain. And I think I touched on it the last time I was here with you. But basically, we have this ecosystem in our intestinal tract. And it has like all the stuff going on. It's good bacteria, bad bacteria, the bad boys, the good boys. And they can pretty much, live cohesively, normally, like it used to be in this country. before the bad guys got really crazy. So what happened was, you know, when you think about it, well, what happened is when you think about it, so you have the bad bacteria, you have the good bacteria. And the more you feed the bad bacteria, the mold, the yeast, candida, all of those nasty things. I mean, we have all kinds of creepy things in there because of our diet, you know? And what happens is they feed off of the sugar, they feed off of the unhealthy yeast and all the things. And they also feed off of, believe it or not, the pesticides, herbicides, the germicides, and the GMOs and all that stuff. So you keep feeding it that stuff, you feed your ecosystem that. It's just like a fish tank. And the fish tank, you know, if you ever had a fish tank, you know that there's a pH level that has to be there in order for your fish to live and not die. It's just like a pool, swimming pool, has to be a certain pH. And if you have it out of balance, you're going to be out of balance. If you have your pH and your ecosystem out of balance, you're going to be out of balance. But what we don't realize is that when we're loading up on the sugars and all of the unhealthy food, we're feeding the bad bacteria. And what happens is they become dominant. They want to take over. And they start requesting what they want. I want the pizza. And you're like trying to change your ways. And they're saying, I don't care. I want the pizza. I want the pizza. And they will like just be so aggressive that you go and get the pizza. Right. And that's called cravings. But what's causing the cravings? It's the ecosystem. It's the bacteria that you developed that wants to be fed what you fed them in order to for them to be as dominant as they are today in your body. So you have to build up the good bacteria and kill off the bad bacteria so that you can have a more balanced way of functioning in your body. And what happens is the more green, the more living food, the more healthy food that has more life. As I always say, life begets life. The more life you give your body, the more life your body is going to receive, because those other things, those bad bacteria, they're all about death. That's the death cycle that's developing in your body, that's causing sickness and disease and causing us to spiral down. So you feed your body the good bacteria. You feed the good bacteria with the healthy food and the living food and all that. You know, we'll talk about what that food is, but basically, you know, life-giving food. Then the life cycle is going to start to go upward. And now your body's starting to crave more of the greens. Your body's starting to crave more of the fruit. It doesn't want the ice cream as much anymore, because those bacteria that was, those microorganisms, I should call them microorganisms instead of bacteria. Okay. So when I said bacteria, I was talking about microorganisms. Okay. Okay. So the microorganisms. So I got bacteria on my mind for some reason, but I mean, it's still bacteria, but they're really microorganisms. So the bad microorganisms, they start to die out, and now the good microorganisms that want the healthy food is crying out for healthy food. So that's what makes it easy for you to transition.
Okay. Which you're good. Leading into the other question that I have, you must have been reading my mind when I'm writing all this down. What advice do you have for those beginning their own journey towards personal fulfillment and healing, especially for those who may feel overwhelmed or unsure where to start?
Okay. Well, I mean, there's really only one way to start. There's so much information out there today. I mean, you are bombarded and you can become overwhelmed very easily and confused. You know, even when I went back to school to get my certification as a holistic health coach, the school I went to taught all these different modalities for healing. I mean, they threw everything but the kitchen sink at us. And it was like, oh my goodness. But for me, it was easy for me to to make my choice and to see what was right, at least for me and what I teach, because I had already become Coach Carmen. After 2.5 years of this battle, I ended up, God said, you are Coach Carmen, you're going to help others by telling your story and supporting them, taking them through the same journey that I took you through to heal. So for me, when I went back to school, it was like, well, I know I'm not going to teach them that. I know, because I had already had that step-by-step direction from God. So from my perspective, I always say, if you have to go back, if you're a person of faith, you have to seek thee first the kingdom of God. You have to trust God first. You have to ask God. You have to start studying, right? And being open to hear from God, right? So you have to lean in. So once you lean in, one of the first things that we do with the 28-day body and soul detox is we deal with the soul issues. So you have to deal with the root and what's causing the bad fruit, right? So, we want to jump right into the diet portion before we even get our heads straight. And that's why so many people are yo-yoing and they're not consistent in what they're doing, because they haven't focused on what's causing them to do what they're doing in the first place. So once they open, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I haven't heard the word yo-yo in a long time. Because that was back in the days that people would do this, bounce, do something else. But they're not convicted on what they want to do. Hey, well, somebody may tell them to do this. They try it. Oh, no, you ought to try this. They jump over to that. And then they still stuck at the same weight and haven't achieved anything.
Yes. And, just going back to the fact that if they don't consider what's causing them to be inconsistent, what's causing them to know what to do and not doing it, what's causing them to go for the bag of chips and all of the sweets, the cookies or whatever, whenever they feel like, well, that's it. Whenever they feel, what are you feeling? What's causing this? And most people know right off the top of their head why they're going through stuff or what they're going through. But then there's some deeper stuff that they haven't even considered because they put it so far back in the booth in the back in the corner in the dark that they don't even remember, or they don't think they remember it, but it's remembering them. Yeah. And it's constantly, reminding them of their shortcomings because of what they were told over and over again as a child or whatever, and I mean, it goes back to, it may sound cliche, but it really does go back to you learning about, reminding yourself of what got you here. Mm-hmm. And then letting go, trust in God. We go to the altar, right? And then we lay it there, and then we get up and we bring it back with us. And we don't ever really let it go. And today, there's just so much chaos around us that it's even more challenging to stay the course of peace and releasing and letting go and loving the unlovely. And you are not worth me. I love you, but you're not worth me being constantly stressed every time I think about you. I can't do that anymore because God put me here for a purpose and I have a job to do and I have to be fit in my mind and in my body in order to do it. So I'm going to have to love you from a distance, or I'm going to, release you and I'm not mad at you anymore. So all of that stuff, it's just like releasing. You got to deal with that first.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Which brings this, how do you address the mind-body connection in your program? And why do you believe it's essential for achieving true wellness?
Yes. Okay. So once you let go, once you're letting go and you're just like, you know what, I surrender. So that's what I had to do. I had to surrender. I surrendered everything. You know, when I was home and I realized how close I could be to death, I was like, you know what? Nothing else is more important than my relationship with God and my peace in my soul. So I was willing to surrender. So in surrendering, I had to forgive. I had to be okay, forgive others. And it wasn't that many people that I had issues with, but you know, I just whatever I forgive you. And I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself for being in debt. I had to forgive, you know, putting myself in debt, this and that, and the other thing, you know. So once I did all of that, that's letting go. That's I had to have faith to let go. I had to trust God to let go and to give it to Him and know that He would throw it into the sea of forgetfulness, and I'm good. But that's the faith. I had to have faith in order to even survive. We have to have faith in order to survive when we're going through a crisis. Right? We have to believe that God is going to work it out for us. So that's the faith. The food part is another part of trust, because you have to trust that God is going to support you when you're going through those cravings. You know, because it's hard. It's like an addiction. It's like being on drugs, you know, and coming off of drugs. If anyone who's ever come off of drugs, I've never had to come off drugs, but sugar is like a drug, you know. So you have to really dig in and trust God and go through the valley of death and deep darkness in order to be released. But again, what you're doing is you're killing off the microorganisms that are killing you. And so they don't want to leave, so they're going to fight you. They're going to make you have headaches. They're going to make you feel like you're dying. Oh, I just got to have that. No, you don't. You're going to be okay, right? But you have to call on God. You got to get on your knees and just pray, ask God to help you through that. So the mind and body connection is everything. Because we are spirit, soul, and body. We can't work on one thing without working on the other. We're tripart beings, you know, and if you try to do one thing, that's what's happening with so many people who say they're faith people, but yet they can't control what they're eating because they haven't. So they focus on the spiritual part, but they don't realize that the food part, the body part, is just as important.
I'll tell you. Are you sure you didn't read my notes?
maybe subconsciously.
I don't know, because how do you see? You're good. How do you
Amen.
how do you define spiritual wellness, and what role does it play in overall health, and how do you support clients who are new to this aspect of wellness?
Spiritual wellness. So spiritual wellness is like, that's the bottom line, really. Because if you're not well spiritually, you are open to all sorts of things. You're open to that realm where, I get deep. You're open to that realm where the enemy realms, where he dwells, and he has his minions of low-level devils and demon spirits and all kinds of stuff. These entities that look for weak spots. We have to be strong spiritually so that we can protect ourselves from being bombarded. And it sounds, what I'm saying sounds like, oh, it's just so, you know, macabre and so, you know, like over the top. But I do believe that even these different microorganisms that I was mentioning, you know, those things are not of God. Anything that's going to make you sick and that's going to try to eat you alive and you know, cause you illness is not of God, right? So then who is it from? So it's not just the boogeyman. I'm talking about like everything from having your spiritual self intact and strong enough for you to protect yourself from that, which means self-discipline. Also, your words, our words attract so much. I mean, what we talk about, we bring about. It's not just what we think about, we bring about. What we talk about, we bring about, right? So that spiritual strength, that spiritual empowerment has a lot to do with us controlling the words we speak. Many of us talk ourselves to death. We talk ourselves to sickness. We talk ourselves to family trauma and drama because we're constantly repeating everything that's going on. We just keep saying it. Yeah, every time this is happening, every time this is happening, every time I told you this and that and the other, and we just talk ourselves into our situations. Being strong spiritually means having, for me personally, is having enough of God in me, enough of the word of God in me, enough of his precious promises in me that everything else that tries to come in, it gets pushed out because it's like a sponge. You just keep filling that sponge with positivity, with God's word, with the light, focusing on the light. And that is how you become empowered, as far as I'm concerned, spiritually. And once you're empowered spiritually, then there's nothing that you can't overcome, as far as I'm concerned.
Are there any daily or simple practices that you recommend support ongoing emotional and spiritual well-being?
Yes. Yes. Definitely. We all know like that hour of power in the morning, how important that is, like getting, I call it unplugging from the matrix, because I call the world a matrix, right? So I said we must unplug from the matrix and fully engage the kingdom of God within us, right? That kingdom, that light within us. So, that morning time with God, I love affirmations and visualization meditations, and the affirmations, let's start with that, calling those things that be not as though they are, writing out a life declaration that you repeat every morning. And if you really want to expedite things, speak it in the morning, speak it at night, read it in the morning, read it at night. Seeing yourself where you want to be, but you have to decide where you want to be first. You have to ask God where you want to be, and then he's going to, he's given us a will and creative thought for a reason. So even though he has created us to be who he wants us to be, we have to just make a decision ourselves too. And then usually it will match up with God if you are connected to him. And if it isn't, then you can tweak it so you know who you are, who you're supposed to be. It starts with that, because if you don't know what you want, what are you doing? Why are you doing anything? Right? So once you know what you want, who you're called to be, why you're here, now you have something to fight for. Now you have something to get up in the morning for, to connect with God for, to visualize, to speak into existence. So I think those things are very important in order to start that transformation going, and to expedite it. Yes.
Okay. So are there any specific books, tools, or resources you recommend to support people on their journey to holistic wellness?
Yeah, I got one right over here. Let me grab.
Looking when I said that, you were ready.
Well, this is one of my favorites. It's called Jesus Calling. And it's so basic, but it's so amazing. Have you ever heard of Jesus Calling, Brother Rob?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's actually a devotional by Sarah Young. And it is one of the most amazing devotionals. And it's really like every day, Jesus is talking to you. He's talking to you and telling you about your day, and telling you, just reminding you about your empowerments, and how when you stay connected with him, how miraculous your life is. And it is just like everything. And you can see mine's really beat up and all because this is it. So I would definitely say Jesus Calling, because it just keeps you every morning on point. It's the best devotional I've ever read. So that's really important. And see, in terms of books, I have some old school books, but like The Power of Positive Thinking and Think and Grow Rich. But really and truly, though, and then they have the Black version of Think and Grow Rich. I say, and most of us, we have the books, we have those books in our bookshelf or on our bookshelves. So sometimes it's just good to go back to some of those basic books, because we don't talk about them as often. Like back in the day when I was in direct sales and all, we all talked about, the books, those positive books, those books about self-development and all, So for me, I think that we should always stay connected to books like that, for sure. But then, I have several books that I've written. I was telling you, Ron, that I never got them physically, published and put into physical form. So I have a book, actually, it's a program called The Biblical Laws of Attraction. And it talks about, the laws of attraction, but from a biblical perspective. Did you ever see the movie or read the book, The Secret?
I think I've seen the movie.
It's about the law of attraction.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, one of the stars of that movie, we actually became really good friends. He became a mentor of mine. And it just so happens that he saw me talking about the biblical laws of attraction, the book that I was writing at the time. And he was so intrigued because he was one of the only Christians that was part of that movie and the book. And he lived in Australia. And so books like that, books about like positivity and speaking your life and existence is really important, because again, we constantly are self-sabotaging ourselves. So we have to do the opposite.
I'm glad you said that. We always, not all, but self-sabotage yourself. That is a good point, because I talk to people like when they start something, they already doubt what they're doing. Oh, I'm gonna fail anyway. Yeah, you are, because you say you are. You don't claim that. You claim when you start something, you're gonna be successful at it. I remember when my mom first told me when you go out and get a job, she said, I don't care what type of job you have. If you a ditch digger, be the best one there.
Yes.
People will notice the things that you're doing. But if you start putting doubt in yourself, nobody want to come talk to you. Nobody wants you to be a leader because you doubt in yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
See, now I'm gonna ask you something. Can you share with some personal practices or routines that help you, that keeps you grounded and balanced as a wellness leader?
Grounded and balanced practices. Well, I mean, I have to say, I have to go back to those things that I mentioned before. That morning routine, that time, that's everything, really. What keeps me grounded is what I do in the morning, that morning time with God, and that speaking, reading my affirmations, my declarations. I don't have it in front of me here, but I have my little, it's like a vision board, but it's small, that kind of thing. As far as maybe it's that, I don't know if I'm answering the question where you want me to answer. So give me a little more details about how you want me to answer that question.
A good one. What keeps you balanced throughout the day? When you wake up in the morning, what is your routine to stay balanced and to stay focused?
To stay focused. Okay. To stay focused on what I'm doing, to stay focused on what I need to do during the day.
Yeah, let's say we know every day is different. So on any particular day, you have your program lined up on what you want to do.
Oh, okay. Yes.
How do you stay focused on that and stay on task?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I create lots of worksheets for myself, check sheets for myself.
And
I have to have these things, and I design them myself for myself because, and then in my programs, we have check sheets that so for everything we're doing, we have some type of accountability for ourselves so that we are reminded. If I don't look at my check sheets, my morning, so I have my morning AM a part of the check sheet. This is a different one. So I have a few. So I have one for health and wellness, right? And just making sure that I'm on top of my game. I'm drinking my water. So it's like, did I drink my water? Yes. Check how many times I drank my water today. Did I do my kidney liver flush? Did I do my sea salt flush? Did I drink my inner beauty tea? Did I eat? What did I eat? And it's not fanatical at all, but it's just reminding me because if I don't, it's so easy to fall off track. So I have that, and then I have my calls who I'm supposed to call, and the checklist for that. I have my awesome day planner that helps me. I grab that. So this is very helpful for me. I got this one on Amazon. But this is very helpful. It keeps me on top of my game. So like my monthly as well as day by day, and who I have to call and that kind of stuff. So if I don't have these things, I'm all over the place. Like I couldn't even conduct my business or my life. You know what I mean, Brother Ron? I know you could feel me because you're busy.
Because my whole life, I never kept a calendar or anything. Everything was up here.
Wow.
But as I started getting busier and taking on new projects and doing things in the community and stuff, I found myself putting the calendar together and everything in the morning. Before I go to bed at night, I make sure nobody slips something in because I have an open calendar. All they got to do is find what time is open and they'll plug in. And
Yes.
And they'll do somebody slipped something in last week on me, and I caught it at night before I went to bed. And I sat down there and did everything I needed to do for the interview, and I was done. But you're right, because then in the morning I wake up, make sure nobody slips something else in. But then I go through that. Then I have a to-do list that I put together, people I need to call, what I need to follow up on.
Yeah.
And one person I need to follow up on is Martha. She called me yesterday, so I got to make sure I call her back. But
yes,
it's things like that you got to do that is that nobody will understand it but yourself.
right.
Like I could write a number down, and this is what I'm good at. I could write a phone number down right next to me, and I will not put a name on it. But I know what number that is. I know. My wife come and say, "Who number is that?" I said, "Oh, it'll come to me." You don't know who it is? I said, "Trust me, I'm ready to call that number. I know who it is." But now I start putting their name on it.
Yeah, yes. I know. I used to be that way too, like giving my brain too much work. Like, even though our brains have the capacity to do so much, it's like, why put so much strain on your brain, especially once you're a certain age? It's like, why? Why? So, like, I keep this too, so that when things come to me, I just write it down, like my checklists, like my list of things that come to my mind right away. And then I take this and I put it in, in the proper place. So
Yeah.
this way I have, that order. But as far as people like, just staying on the path with their wellness and all, it is important to have some type of checklist to remind yourself. So many people don't drink enough water, for instance, and really and truly, there's a book that's called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. And extremely powerful because it talks about how so many diseases could be eradicated just by drinking enough water.
Exactly.
Which is crazy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. The things we take for granted sitting right there in front of us.
In front of us. In front of us. But we run to the doctor before we do the basics that, those things that we should be doing anyway. You know how they used to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Like how many people have an apple a day? I remember Evander Holyfield, spoke about having an apple before he ate dinner. And the reason why he did that was because it helped him to eliminate. So, which is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to eliminate each time we eat a full meal. Yeah. Who does that? Like, but just to do it, right? So, like an apple a day can keep the doctor away. You're, cleaning out your system the way you should. Mm-hmm. So these old school concepts that we, it's not that important anymore because all we have to do is we make an appointment for the doctor so that the doctor can give us what we need so that we can feel better. And it gets to a point where it's just like laziness and not being willing to do your part.
Think a pill cure everything. When you you eat right, you shouldn't have to worry about that. Eat your fiber and all that good stuff, you'll be okay. Because we're in that world right now. Oh, I'll go to the doctor, give me a pill for this. Give me a pill. What do you mean give you a pill for that? I'm trying to take as least as I can.
Yes.
So
yes.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What are your plans to expand the platform? Maybe a workshop, online course, or collaborate with anybody? You have any plans for that coming up?
Well, yeah, definitely. Well, we have the 28-day Body and Soul Detox, which is finishing up its 14th year, and amazing program. It includes my cookbook and detox book. Well, we're turning it into a 12-month program, and really it's going to be a membership. But I don't want to scare people off. So I said a 12-month program, but after the 12 months, you're still working on your thing. So stay in here another 12 months until you get it done. But it is so beautiful and so exciting. So it's called the Body and Soul Detox Revolution 12-month program. And the course, the online course is so amazing. I was just excited just thinking about it because every month, we're going to start off with every week of the month. We're going to have a time where we go into the kitchen. It's going to be virtually, of course, everybody in their own home going into the kitchen, and we're going to do the food prepping the food. I mean, like basic down to the bottom line. Step by step with people helping them because, there's so many loopholes that people jump through. There's so many gaps, where they're not really step by step, precept by precept, and they don't get the job done. So they don't really get to their healthy weight because there's always something stopping them. So now it's like they can't get away from it. Like we got everything they need step by step. It's going to be amazing. So I have that going on. I have and then of course, the books I was telling you about, we're putting them in physical form finally. So, the 28-day Body and Soul Detox Revolution book and my cookbook, we're turning it into a physical book and updating it, adding a lot more recipes. And we also have a program called Healed Whole Body and Soul Total Life Transformational Program, which we've had for many years. We're turning that into a membership. So where the women will come in. Gosh, it's just they have to go to the website so they could see like everything because I'll end up here for another 20 minutes telling you all the exciting, juicy things that we have going on. But one of things that's not on the website. I had on there once before when I was connected to the churches, doing the inviting churches to do the detox and all, and also helping the churches to create their own organic gardens, because I really believe that every church should have their own organic garden so that they can be able to be self-sustained and save a lot of money with food, because we know organic food is very expensive. I hate to say, I'm not going to take that back. Organic food is more costly than regular food, traditional food, if you will. But at the same time, it's all costly, right? So why not grow your own? So that's one of the things we want to start to do next year. Again, go back into the churches, inviting them to do the detox and to get their gardens on, because every church should have their own organic garden.
And that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm getting things ready for this fall for spring, because I'm planning on after I see the prices, and I love broccoli. I seen I'll start growing my own, because I'll take my broccoli and I'll put it on the grill because I like that taste.
Nice.
I do that, and I'm gonna grow a whole bunch of stuff, and
Yes.
I'm gonna just sit back, and my veggies just coming straight from my backyard.
Exactly. We're still taking. In fact, my husband just cut some of the. Let's see. I think we had a little kale left and some other greens that were able, because the greens, they do like the fall, but the tomatoes are going, and a lot of the other things are dying out now. But oh my goodness, I'm looking forward to being able to have some type of greenhouse in the house so that I can grow myself. And they have things now. They have these pods that you can grow in your house, which is awesome.
Yeah, they have all that good stuff, and I like that. I told somebody one time that I said, "Have you ever had pinto beans picked?" They said, "No." I said, "So we used to having it dry, right? Yeah, we boil it and all that stuff, but no.
Yeah.
If you grow some pinto beans and you do it fresh, it's a completely different taste. You wouldn't understand."
Wow. Man, shelling peas and beans, that brings me back to South Carolina. My grandmother used to give us a big bushel of beans to
Hey, so
shell them, right? Shell them. That's what it's called.
because we turned around all the recipes that, like my grandmother, I was the oldest grandson, and I was in the kitchen all the time. And I watched my grandmother cook, and she never measured anything.
Yeah.
And I do that to this day.
That's like me.
I don't measure nothing. But it's consistent every time I cook it.
I hear you.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's an art form that everyone needs to learn, because you really need to know how to handle the kitchen, which is actually, I'm doing a cooking class next month for the holidays, raw food cooking class. So that's something else that.
well, you see, Halloween starts a holiday for me. Once that day's over with, it's the holiday season, all
Yep.
into January.
Yep.
How I do
And
it is through. So,
And that's why you're going to do this detox, because we're going to do the preparing people, keeping them in control and giving them all these amazing options for the holidays so they don't go AWOL.
yes, yes. And I will talk to you in a little bit as soon as the show's over. So don't you sign off yet. But
Okay.
Anyway, in closing, you like to tell everybody how to get a hold of you and your website and all that good stuff?
For sure. Okay. So the easiest way to get a hold of me is, you go to the website. Well, you can go, the website is sharingthebliss.com. Right, sharingthebliss.com. And we have a beautiful gift offering for you. When you scroll down a little bit, it's called the Gift of Bliss bundle. Really awesome. So you could just go on and opt in for that. And that will give you the opportunity, if you like, to speak with me, to have a 15-minute consultation support. I call it health and wellness support call, and you can fill out the health and wellness form. And, so we can get to talk, and I can get to, really know you and find out what your needs are spiritually and physically. Yeah, so that, and then I have the sharingthebliss.shop, and that's the online store, sharingthebliss.shop.
Okay, well, that's nice to hear. Boy, we're gonna be good. I like this. I like this. All right,
Amen.
Coach Carmen, we appreciate you coming on. Delightful, and
Mhm.
stick around. All right, everybody. This is Ron G on WSN Radio with our favorite coach, Coach Carmen.
Woohoo!
Everybody have a good day. We'll talk to you later. Thank you for tuning in to WSAN Radio. Catch us on our YouTube channel, WSAN Radio SA. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification button.